So we're going to do a little broadhead sharpening tonight. Not for the fun reasons. Haven't shot anything with them. But the broadheads I'm shooting this year are cutthroat, 200 grain, single bevel, all steel broadheads. And one of the cons of shooting an all steel broadhead is if you hunt in the rain, they start to rust. I just did this about a week ago, and I hunted in the rain Friday night, and as you can see, broadheads are starting to rust everywhere on that bare metal. So we're gonna, the good thing about it is it's just surface, so if you jump on it quick, it doesn't take very long. You don't have to remove a lot of material. Never been much of a knife sharpener. I've always kind of just bought new knives when my old ones got dull. Only thing I've ever actually been able to sharpen decent was axes and chainsaw chains. But I bought this kit right here, this Work Sharp sharpening kit. I actually saw a guy on YouTube using it to sharpen broadheads, so that was the main reason I got it. But it really gives me a lot of confidence with knives too. I have sharpened one knife that was really bad, completely reprofiled it and put a better edge on it first time using it than I've ever done before. So this kit works really well. I'm gonna get it set up and I'll show you how I do it. What I do is I'll take my broadhead. This is the holder. And you're supposed to try to get the broadhead 90 degrees as close to 90 as you can get. So this is the jig that's going to hold my broadhead, and it goes right there. So next step, so I take a black Sharpie and I color the entire bevel black. This is going to let me know when I've got my bevel angle set correctly. Okay. So then I'm going to start off with a low grit. I like it because this thing comes with these little tri-stones, and I've ended up, I think I've got 3 different ones, so I've got about 9 or 10 different options. This 320 is a good number, good grit to get the stuff off. And what I really like about this is once I lock this in, it clicks in there, I set my angle up and down with this wheel. It's got indentions or line markers to set your angle. And once you got that angle set, it's set. It doesn't move. So you don't have to worry about changing the angle of the bevel or each stroke not being the same. So one thing I have noticed from these is the angle on this side is not always the angle on the other. So I do have to check each time. So what I do is I just take my stone and I'll run a pass. And I see what's coming off. And this one's actually pretty close. It looks like the top side may be getting touched a little bit more, so I may need to bump my angle up just a little bit. So I'll bump my angle up just a little. I'll give it another run. Okay, now I think I'm starting to get the whole angle, and that's when I'm starting to see that Sharpie disappear all the way down it. So it looks like this side is pretty even, but this side looks like I'm down at the bottom. So I'm wondering if that means I need to get my broadhead a little closer to 90 degrees. So let's loosen this up. Try to readjust this to where it holds like that. Let's see if that changes anything. That's all down on the bottom, so that means it needs to come back down. A little bit better. Yeah, finally got that bevel set how I want. And as you can see, it's taken off a lot of that black Sharpie already. So really, like I said, I'm not trying to remove material here, I just want to get the rust off of it. So when I look at this, the rust is off. So because it's a single bevel, I do most of my sharpening on one side. So now I'm going to swap out my tri-stone. For a higher grit. And I'm going to move to that's a ceramic. I'm going to move to a 600. And this just pops in here. Some magnets in. Okay, and I know my bevel's set how I want. So then now, I'll just take me a handful of passes here. Just working on smoothing out that rougher grit. Then once I make enough passes with that, I move it to the ceramic, and that's where I finish. Okay, so one thing I've kind of learned recently, I'm still getting into sharpening, but always, every time you're growing up and you get a knife and you kind of feel it to see how sharp it is, there's always one edge. I always grew up like, oh man, that feels sharp. Well, I think what I'm feeling is technically a burr. So, because when I am sharpening all my material off to this side, I am creating a burr on this back edge. So even though this is a single bevel, just to flatten that burr out and make this very sharp, I go back to a decent grit, still a high grit, like a 800. And on the back side of this, even though I'm not trying to sharpen it, I do still make about 3 or 4 passes away from the grain just to flatten that burr out. And then once that burr is flattened out, That side's pretty sharp. So we painted it with the Sharpie, and as you can see, we sharpened it back, no rust. Now we gotta work on the other side. Alright, so I know you probably can't tell on camera, but it seems like it's all connecting on the top side of this bevel. So that means I need to raise my bevel. So I'm going to raise it up about 2 degrees. Still needs to come up. Still needs to come up. It's a little bit better. Still needs to come up a little bit though. Alright, and that's cleared off all the Sharpie, so then I just need to run my second and third passes. Go back to my 600. And then we'll finish on the ceramic. And then the last thing we do is we just flatten out that burr with some 800 grit. And then we're done. Alright, and that's it. Now we go back on the arrows and back in the quiver. I did put a touch of oil on them, on the bare metal, just to try to slow down that rust a little bit. Like I said, I did this exact same thing about a week ago. And the next hunt I went on, it was misty and then they were rusty again. Just trying to keep them as sharp as possible. Sharper the broadhead, hopefully the better the blood trail. You know, like I said, this is only a problem with steel broadheads mainly. So if you're using a aluminum broadhead or a replaceable blade broadhead like a striker or a thunderhead or something like that, you can probably just buy new blades. But steel broadheads really kind of what I've been looking for. I'm definitely doing the heavy arrow, the high FOC this year. It's 200 grain broadhead, 50 grain insert. Makes my arrow fly really slow, but where I hunt, I'm generally only taking 20, 25 yard shots anyway, so sharp broadheads, way to go.